To cry unto the Lord means to sincerely pray in faith with a strong desire to have help from on high. Cried unto the Lord, or similar phrases, are found 23 times in the first half of the Book of Mormon. In these scriptures, prophets, kings, followers of Christ, and even servants faithfully cried unto the Lord for help. God answered their prayers, blessed them, strengthened their testimony, taught them things, and directed their course. By following their example, we too can have these same blessings. Let's first look at Nephi's, Jacob's, and Enos's account of crying unto the Lord. First, Nephi. In 1 Nephi 2:16, Nephi prayed to know if the words of his father were true. God answered this prayer and blessed him with a willingness to believe. Nephi learned a lot about prayer that day, and his testimony was strengthened, and as a result he used the same pattern of crying unto the Lord for answers again and again. And it's interesting to note that, as Jeffrey R. Holland said, his prophetic future was determined because he prayed and believed the words of his father when he was doubting. So it doesn't matter whether we have doubts, but what we do with them. The next example in the Book of Mormon is Jacob in Jacob 7. Jacob had great care for his people and was sad that Shem, an Antichrist, was leading so many of his people away. He cried unto God, and God answered him by allowing the multitude to feel the power of God and know Shem was an Antichrist. This miraculous experience not only helped the multitude, though, but it also reaffirmed to Jacob the power and reality of prayer. After Jacob, the next prophet historian in the Book of Mormon was Enos. He cried unto the Lord to gain forgiveness and for the Lord to preserve the records. I really like what Spencer W. Kimball said about how Enos prayed. He said, "The supplication of Enos is written with the pain of anguish and on the paper of faith, and with a willingness to prostrate himself totally that he might receive forgiveness. His words are mighty and definitive. He could have said merely, 'I wanted information,' but he said, 'My soul hungered.' He could have merely prayed unto the Lord, like so many pray, but in his eagerness for forgiveness, he said, 'I kneel down before my Maker, and I cried unto him in mighty prayer and supplication for mine own soul.' How impressive his words! Mighty prayer and supplication is not the usual prayer. The Lord's agonies in Gethsemane, so long, so earnest, were mighty prayers. Because of his earnestness, God answered his prayer. He forgave Enos and covenanted that he would preserve the records. Enos talks about how his testimony was strengthened and how that directed his course. At first he mentioned that his father was a just man. Then the words of his father sunk into his heart, and he had a desire to be forgiven. He then prayed. The Lord forgave him, and he continued praying for other things and to get answers. He then said that his faith began to be unshaken in the Lord. Eventually, he definitively had faith. With this rock-solid faith from his amazing experience, he went about among the people of Nephi, prophesying of things to come and testifying of the things which he had heard and seen. What great effect this experience of crying unto the Lord had on Enos's life. What about us? Are we praying like Nephi, Jacob, and Enos? Are we crying unto the Lord? Do we understand the power of earnest prayer and the effect it can have on our testimony and our spiritual course? One example is Zeniff and his people in Mosiah 9. Now this is where Zeniff led a group of people to the land of Lehi-Nephi, which was a Lamanite city. The Lamanites allowed them to inherit their land because they wanted to bring them into bondage. So after they inherited the land for a while, they began to exercise authority over them and treat them like slaves. Zeniff and his people were frustrated and went to war with the Lamanites. After failing 3 times, they cried mightily to God that he would go with them to battle. God answered their prayers and blessed them with strength to drive the Lamanites back. It's interesting to note that the first time they cried unto God, he helped them. What great comfort this can give us. God will help people who cry unto him. Another example is in Alma 2, where the Lamanites and the Amalekites come against the Nephites in battle. The Lamanites and the Amalekites were described as being as numerous, almost as it were, as the sands of the sea. Yet the Nephite army defeated them because they cried unto the Lord, and the Lord helped them. This is the power of crying unto the Lord. Now, a numerous army isn't probably going to come against us here at BYU, and we aren't probably going to be afflicted with bondage, but we can still apply the principles from these stories in our lives. They teach us that God will help us when we cry unto him, and that God endows us with power when we cry unto him. We can apply this to our educational goals. God will help us do well in school if we cry unto him. Perhaps my favorite examples of crying unto the Lord in the Book of Mormon are those where the earnest prayer is for someone else. For example, Nephi prayed for his brothers, Jacob for his brethren, and Alma the younger for Zeezrom. I really like that Nephi cried unto the Lord for his brothers, even though they treated him so badly. It shows the love Nephi had for his siblings. If he could love his wicked siblings that much, then we should definitely be able to love and pray for our siblings who treat us so much better. Jacob cried unto the Lord for his brethren in Jacob 7. Recall that Jacob wanted his brethren to understand that Shechem's doctrine was wrong. God answered Jacob's prayer, and the multitude turned from Shechem to the Lord. Now, we can apply this scripture to missionary work. When we go to teach people and we are concerned about their spiritual welfare, we need to cry unto God to have him help our investigators feel that our doctrine is true. This is powerful. Now Alma the younger prayed for Zeezrom. Zeezrom had previously attacked Alma's doctrine, but now Zeezrom pled for Alma to heal him. When Alma cried unto God, Zeezrom was immediately healed. It's interesting that he was immediately healed. What power simple petitions to God for others truly have. In conclusion, crying unto the Lord is a powerful form of prayer. It implies more than just merely praying, but sincerely praying in faith with a strong desire to be answered and to have help from on high. It is through this type of prayer that people in the Book of Mormon received spiritual strength, physical strength, and helped others. It is also through this type of prayer that we, right now, can receive help from God for our spiritual and educational well-being, as well as to help others. God will hear us. So next time we feel our testimony waning, or find ourselves not taking scripture study as seriously, we need to cry unto God. Next time we have a test, have to write a paper, find ourselves tired or easily distracted, or feel just that there isn't enough time to do all the homework, we need to cry unto God. Next time someone insults us or treats us unfairly, we need to cry unto God. God will answer us. He will bless us. He will strengthen us, teach us things, and direct our course.